Yo, what up? Welcome back. It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and I got a good one for y'all today. Guess what we tapping into? Flexbox. We in there. Man, how many people are scared of Flexbox? A lot. But it's not even that complicated for real, for real. And what I'm about to do is show y'all why it's not that complicated. So let's tap in. Okay, so what I have on the screen, drink, same drink. What I have on the screen, some simple HTML. Let's take a look. All right, move myself over. I better control over my mouse today. All right, let's open up this HTML. And what we can see so far is that we got this, my bad, we got this div right here. And we got this outer div right there that has an ID of container. This outer div that has the ID of container and pretty much contains all of the stuff inside of it. Then we got the title of the container right there. And then we got the items and whatnot right here. Okay, cool. So what am I trying to do here? Well, basically what Flexbox allows us to do is create these containers, and then inside the containers we can manipulate the container to space out things properly. What was the purpose of Flexbox? Well, before Flexbox, a lot of people were trying to figure out like how to position things. Number one thing being centering. Centering things was like ridiculously hard. Regardless if it was vertical or horizontal, it's very hard to do those things. And then when it came to like spacing in between different items, it was like pretty complicated. So the someone pretty much came up with this idea of Flexbox, and which really took all of the basic CSS and built on top of it, and just gave us what you will say an API, a library for us to use those harder things to think about, but in terms of Flexbox. And so Flexbox is allows us to get that functionality. And so I use Flexbox in almost everything I do on CSS. I cannot like lay out a CSS page without Flexbox. And you just hear me say layout. That's pretty much what it's for. It's laying out the page. What does the page looks like? What does the header look like? We have image on the left side, 3 columns on the right side. They're spaced evenly. Like then the image and the columns are spaced against each other. Like with Flexbox, we are able to take advantage of the API and literally just lay out things very easily. And so I'm gonna give you that introduction pretty well. So here we go. So Flexbox works off the idea of containers and items. The container being the outer div. And so that's what the container is. And then the items are the things that go inside the div. So you could think of this H1 as an item, this is an item, this is an item, this is an item. The only reason the H1 doesn't have like item on it is because I'm just gonna leave that as the title of the container. And so let's get into flexing these items. Like, what is Flexbox? So what I'm gonna actually do is change gears first and go because Flexbox is more so abstract thinking, and so I'm going to use my iPad because whenever it gets abstract, you want to think in pictures. So I'm going to use my iPad, and we're going to start thinking in pictures right now. And so here we go. We got Flexbox, and so here we got in our CSS, we have one second. In our CSS, we have it set up to where our website, or in our HTML, let's go back to our HTML actually. Let's take a look at this. Let's look at our HTML because I didn't introduce that. This is what our HTML looks like. Let me move myself off the screen. Our HTML looks like this, right? Okay, so what are we doing here? I have this div right here. That's the container. Then I got the H1. And then I got this encompassing div. Let's see if I can do it with my hands. That div, like right there, that's one div that has a H1 right inside of it. And then you can see that same structure 2 more times. So let me show you what I mean. You got H1 right there, and then you got one item, another item. So I could put item. Remember, this is just a comment that I'm adding right here. Item. And then same thing, item. So now you see these are clearly three separated items. So I have 3 items inside of this thing called a container. Okay, so let's get back to Flexbox and containers and items. Okay. Well, there was this time when, let's say, we had these 3 items like this, and they were all near each other. And let's say they was in some type of container like this, right? You have these 3 items, they're in this container. The user or the developer wants to move these 3 items to where they're vertically aligned center, and then when they're horizontally aligned center. You basically just want to put these right in the middle, like right here. How can we do that? Well, let me add more of the visual so y'all can see what I mean. He wants to put, let's go back and do it like these. He wants to put these items basically right here. He wants to control where we place these items inside of that container. Well, he wants it right here. Well, most of us would think we create the container and then we tell the item, go to the middle. Then we tell the next item, go to the middle. And then we tell the next item, go to the middle. But what actually happens with Flexbox is that this outer container that I'm going to create as blue, this outer container here is what we start dressing up, if you will. So we have the blue as our container. And inside our container, we have these things called items. And so what we would do is we would start to configure our container. We would configure the container to say, whenever an item, basically, I'm not about to write that out. Basically, we configure our container to say, container, whenever an item is placed inside of you, place that item in the middle of the container. No matter how big the container is, how wide the container is, always place the items in the middle vertically and then the middle horizontally, right? And we tell the container that. So now the container is the container's job to place these items rather than the item's job. And so now the items just have to look, the items just take care of their own look while the container is taking care of the placement of that item inside of itself. And so that's actually the real big point of Flexbox, right? And so like building off of that idea, we can move things not only in the middle, but we can move them to the front, we can move them to the end, we can move them to the top, we can move to the bottom, and all over the place based on Flexbox. And so I'm just going to give you that quick introduction to Flexbox, but tap in with Flexbox. There's a lot of other things that you can do than just pushing things here, pushing things there. You can also wrap things. You can also like make things stretch and whatnot, but I'm not getting into all of that today because that's more of, that's when you really start practicing with Flexbox. Today is the introduction to Flexbox. How do we move things how do we make it on the left side or the right side? How we put it on the left side, how we put it on the top, how we put it on the bottom, how we put it in the middle. That's all I'm talking about today because these are the basics of CSS. You get more into the specifics once you start building projects. So without further ado, we're going to get back into what we were just talking about with the code. Okay. So as you can see, I have my container here, that div container, and I got my 3 items right here, item 1, item 2, and item 3, and then I have the class item. Inside of the HTML or the CSS, you'll see that class item has a padding of 1 rem, has a width of 10 rem, a height of 10 rem, and then a border. That's what y'all see over here. All right, cool. So now, if that's what that looks like, then, well, how do I get this? Let's say I wanted item 1, 2, 3 in a vertical line, right? Well, I need to first I need to tell the container to tell the items to be in a vertical line. So I have to go to the element that is containing all of my items. And so this div on line 13 is the element that is containing all of my items. So because it's containing it, I need to make that element a container. And just because I give it the ID container does not mean that it's a container. The ID container is for me to remember as the developer that this is going to be my container. So now I can give my container properties. And so in order to create a div, in order to make a div a container in terms of Flexbox, we have to change its display property to flex, like that. So now our container is our div with the ID container is now an actual Flexbox container. And let's see what that looks like let's see what that looks like now. Okay, cool. So now all the items are just placed right next to each other. And look, it's pretty cool. Cool. Like Flexbox gave us that. That's dope. And so what if I wanted my items, let's say, spread out in the middle? Like let's say I wanted them horizontally aligned. I wanted them in the middle. The way that we do horizontal alignment is justified content. That's the property. And then as you can see, you have all these other you have these values that can be tied up with justified content. You have baseline, center, end, baseline, or first baseline, flex, end, flex, start, last. And you just go around and play with them. I'm gonna go with center. And look, bang, all my items went to the center. Cool. But what if I wanted this container to just like stay right here to show that it's the container and I just wanted to move the items? Well, remember in our last video about positioning, we can make this container a position relative, and let's see what that does. That does nothing. It keeps it in the same natural position. But what the reason I made it position relative is because I need this container to be a position element so that when I move container and I tell container to be position absolute, and then I say that it is from the left 0. Oh, that's container 1. Yeah. Oh wait, yeah. So when I say left 0, it knows to do absolute, and then I say left 0 like this. It knows to just push that one straight to the left and leave all the rest of these as items. So basically, I said that this item right here, this element, the H1 element we don't really care about the H1 element in terms of flexing it. So just remove it absolute to the container. It's gonna stay within the container because watch, if I put bottom, if I do, so that's left, and I say left 0, and then I go bottom. Instead of it, if I go bottom 0, you see it comes down to this bottom instead of the bottom of the screen, which is down here, because I made the container a positioned element, and then I put the bottom, and then I made the H1 absolute inside of that positioned element. So now it stays contained in this. So that's what I was doing with that, but I just want it to be on the side like that. So container, so that you know that we have the overall container here. So let's make this position absolute, and then also do a top, or do a left of 0, and then let's come to container, and container, let's just add a background color of like chocolate to start off with, and then probably gonna turn it some type of green. Green, and refresh, bang. So you see our container. Let's just make that white, color white. And okay, you see our container, and now you see the items within the container. So let's make the container a little high, taller, because as you can see, the height of the items is the height of the container. So I can't really vertically align it. I need some more spacing to see how I can align it vertically, right? Can't align anything vertically if it's the same height as that vertical. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So in order to align something vertically, we have justified content for the horizontal alignment, and that's like a star, and then this is a star slash. Yeah, that's for the horizontal alignment, and then for the Vertical alignment, we do align items, and then we say center, like that. But you also saw the other properties, vertical. You also saw the other properties as well. Oh, wait. So if we come back here, we refresh it. See container is, we just went to the middle. And that's because, oh wait, yeah. All right, the item container went to the middle. Cool. Now, but that's because I didn't put a top of 0. So if I do top 0, no, that one stays there. But these ones didn't move at all. You saw how container came down to the middle. These ones didn't move because these are like the full box is the height. So what I'm gonna do here on container is give it a height of like, let's go 20 VH, like that. Cool. And automatically what you see is that these items get put in the middle. Like they're automatically in the middle vertically, and the reason it's in the middle vertically is because align items vertical. Well, look at this. Look, why are all of these just stuck together? What if I wanted them spaced apart? Like, I can come back to my horizontal alignment and say space around, like that. And if I save it, that gives me the space around the objects are the same. If I do space between, you get the space between the objects are the same. And then if I do evenly spaced or spaced evenly, you get the items become spaced evenly. So now, instead of telling the items what to do, we tell the box what to do. We tell the box how to treat each item that's inside of it. And so, as you can just naturally see where the container at. Watch this. As the container grows in height, you will see that all the items will naturally just stay right in the middle each single time. And as the container shrinks in width, let's also shrink the container's width. We're gonna start it off at 100 viewport width, but as it shrinks, look how everything also stays in the middle continuously. No matter how wide or how long it is, we configured that container, no matter if the container is small or if it's like wide, if we configure it to be a container, flex container, and we give it its properties, all the items inside of it, unless they're positioned absolute, all the items inside of it are going to take on those properties and be styled the exact way that it needs to be styled, like that. And so this is one of the dope things about Flexbox. But yo, so yeah, we can apply the configuration onto the container, but Flexbox also allows us to apply specific configurations to each item. So what if I wanted to go to item 3 and say, I didn't want item 3 to be, that's item 3. So let's say I wanted item 3 to actually be at the bottom, and then I wanted item 1 to be at the top, and then item 2 to be in the middle. Well, I can actually change those properties specifically on each item. So I can come to this item and I can just say, align self. And align self lets you say, flex start, like that. Or that's flex end, that's flex start, cool. And then we can come to item 1, and then we say align self. There we go, flex end, like that. And now we got like a little step. We can whoop, 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 basically. And then like once again, if I start messing with the container's height and width, that does not mess around with the properties of each one of these. They're always going to be in the middle, or right now, bottom. Then you got the one in the middle, and then you got the one to the right. But they're always positioned in the same way, like in the width with the width. They're in the middle of the width, like no matter how big. And it's just like once you start really playing around with Flexbox, and you see like this is a div, which is an item, but I can also turn this div into a Flexbox container. Let's say I wanted to center item 3. So I would have to turn this div, which is an item, I would turn that into a container. So display, flex, So yes, items in themselves can be containers. Containers have items in it, and an item itself can also be a container that has items. And so the item in this container is going to be that H3, or that is going to be that item 3 word. So what we're going to say here is, because we got display flex, well, now we can say justify content, center, and we can say align items, center, and look, I just quickly place my item 3. What if I wanted it at the beginning of it? Let's say I said flex start. I wanted it at the beginning, and then actually I didn't want it centered. I wanted it at the bottom. So flex end, like that. So now it's at the bottom left. I have control now all over where this item is gonna go, and as you can see, as you get more and more complex in your application, you just start building containers, items, containers, items, containers, items, containers, items, and you start learning more about the CSS Flexbox model. You're gonna go far. Now this is just the introduction, because like there's way more to do with Flexbox. You'll see that you'll be able to flip the alignment. So how I said display, where is it, flex, right here, I can also change my flex direction. So let me take off this part right here. Okay, I just did something. 1 second. All right, so let me take off this part right here, and now come back here. You see the display flex, or it went display flex, but it just put it all back up. We didn't get to design it, or we didn't place it anywhere. I can check. So you see how each item is basically a column. It's in one row, 3 columns. Well, basically what Flexbox allows you to do is either turn something into one row with multiple columns, or turn it into one column with multiple rows. So what we're going to do is turn this into one column with multiple rows instead of one row with multiple columns, like natural. So what we do here is say flex direction, and we say column, and look what happens. They get one column. The direction is just one column, and it becomes a row. So now though, just how we had justified content, look what happens if I say justified content centered. So last time justified content centered did us a horizontal one, right? It does a horizontal change. This is going to do, it didn't even move us horizontally. It didn't move us horizontally. So I'm confused why it didn't move us horizontally. So maybe it's because of something with the height. Now let's just see why. And as I increase the height, you see what's happening. What happens is that the items are actually aligned vertically now, that the direction is column. Justified content now does the vertical alignment, and you guessed it, align items does the horizontal alignment. So we go center, and now our items are aligned in the center. I forgot to do let's do ADDH. They're aligned in the center and in the middle. So this is called like the flex axis or something, or the main axis. Like I said, look these things up. I'm not good with the words. I'm not good with the vocabulary. I just know how to use it, and I know how to explain it to somebody in terms of concepts, but I don't understand all the words and exactly. So go look it up. Go into the API. I'm only introducing y'all into this stuff. Y'all need to go look this stuff up, because with the box model, hold up, let me tap in with y'all. So y'all did well, man. Y'all got through this video. Y'all getting it. Like y'all know how to lay out elements. Y'all know how to place it to the left, to the right, to the at the top, to the bottom, in the middle. And now you just gotta take these basic things that I've taught you. I've taught you these basic skills of box model, of positioning, and now of layout. These are the hardest things in CSS. And you might want to go with, I would say, animations and stuff like that later on. But like to begin with, as in the basics of CSS, positioning, box model, and flexbox, or positioning, box model, and layout are the hardest things to accomplish in CSS. And when you get those those technologies down, those concepts down, you become a master, you become a wizard in the world of front end development. And so I really wish that you guys tap in and not only just learn the information, but practice the information. Go find some practice websites and just some basic ones. Just look up basic HTML websites to copy, HTML, CSS websites to copy, and you'll just find a whole plethora of shit on the internet. But the thing is, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it for you, because I'm about to just, over the next few videos after I finish JavaScript stuff, we're just going to just find different websites and practice these skills while also picking up new skills. We'll find new CSS skills like animations, and then we'll be using like shadows and after and before and different things like that, so that you get the full grasp of CSS. But right now, as an introduction, man, you're definitely able to go to the and start practicing. You're able now to build a resume for yourself, build up a portfolio of different projects, and really hone in on those skills. Let's see. But you basically almost there to being a software engineer, almost there to being a front end developer. The only skill that you need now is that introduction to JavaScript. JavaScript, once again, is how we're going to add interactivity to our websites. So HTML is just how we structure. And as you can see with the different divs and whatnot, 1 second, Siri.
I didn't get that.
HTML, once again, is how we structure our website. And so if you think about the different divs, we can do a whole bunch of divs and then put divs inside of divs. So let's say we have 5 different sections: the hero section, the about section. Each one of those sections can be a div, and then inside of that div we have different sections of the hero section. That's probably like the left section and then the right section. So you put div and div. You see how we're structuring our website based on the different elements right there. And then with the CSS, we get to lay it out. Like, we get to place those elements exactly where we want to place them at, based on the box model and layout and positioning and whatnot. And then you go deeper, and then you can use CSS to color in the website and all the other stuff. But now that you got a nicely structured website and it's styled up properly the way that you want it, you go give it to people, they look at it, it's cool, but what if you want to add interactivity to it? What if you want things to pop out when a button is clicked and all of that other stuff? You need JavaScript. You need to add some type of logic into the system, because structuring the data isn't logical, or in a way it's logical, but structuring the data isn't logical in terms of computer logical languages that process things. And then styling things isn't that logical either. The logic comes in terms of JavaScript when it's really doing those computations and whatnot. And so I'm gonna introduce you to JavaScript, and then for real, you're gonna have that whole like introduction to computer science, I would say introduction to web development, down front end web development, and then you can really just start making more and more websites. You'll learn that you'll need a little bit more technologies like React and whatnot to be competitive in today's time. But once again, this is your introduction. I'm glad y'all stopped by. Like I always say, hit me with the like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know how I'm doing on these videos, and we're gonna get to it. All right, peace.